Time for a little Buffalo Bills talk today. Manchild show with Boy Green Digital. Bills looking to bounce back. Ooh, it's going to be an interesting one with Anthony Prohaska, Mr. Superstition, and his superstition's correct, apparently. So perhaps we owe him an apology. I don't know. Welcome aboard, everybody, on a Thursday, a rainy Thursday here in central New York. And it is time to talk Buffalo Bills football. We talk all the New York teams. We've already talked about the Jets. We've already talked about the Giants. Now we got to talk about a team that's got a pretty good matchup. One of the premier matchups of this week. It is the Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. Boy Green, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. And again, I talked to this individual before the show. It's Anthony Prohaska. And obviously, I'm in full Jets gear. You're like, dude, this is a Bills interview. What the hell are you doing? Well, it's a game day, baby. The Jets play the New England Patriots tonight on Thursday Night Football. And obviously, I'm a pretty big Jets fan. But the only person that is rooting for the Jets harder than me is Anthony Prohaska, so we can take out those evil Empire New England Patriots to open the door back up for Buffalo to get back into the AFC East race. So, hell yeah, Anthony, confirm your Jet fandom. Maybe a spelling bee, a couple of J's, a couple of E's, a couple of T's, perhaps an S.
No, I absolutely
don't do that,
not
Anthony.
do the.
Don't do that. That's crossing the line right there.
I would say we're crossing the Rubicon here. But no, I am rooting for the Jets tonight. Although I'm not as. I said it before the season. I want to win the division if I'm the Bills, or even just as a fan of the team, to continue the streak of like winning the division. But from the brass tacks of it, I really don't care too much. Like, just get to the playoffs. Like, this team they won the division 5 years in a row. They've been the 2 seed. Granted, they've never been the 1, but like, as much as winning the division's cool and being a high seed is cool, they haven't won the Super Bowl. It hasn't been their path. Like, so I'm at this point of just get to the dance and get through, especially no jinx, how the seeding is kind of lining up. I'd almost kind of rather be a lower seed and not have to play one of like the prototypical favorites that are kind of at the bottom a little bit, but it's a conversation for another time. But yeah, rooting for the Jets tonight. Unfortunately, hard times.
You know, Anthony, one of the things that I've always trusted in my observations, my analyzation of football, are my eyes. I mean, I trust my eyes. And Paul has often labeled me a touchy-feely fan, which I am. I respect stats and analytics and film, but I trust my eyes and my feel, I think, a lot more. And what I'm feeling, and it's just, again, it's off of not just this Miami loss, which was, to me, extremely surprising. Okay. It's just kind of been out there a little bit with the Bills. And that is, do they have all the pieces to truly be a contender? And when I look at their offense, the piece that I continue to worry about are the wide receivers and, just the receiving core in general. Let's throw the tight ends in there. And with Dalton Kincaid out, it just feels like this big piece has been removed and suddenly it's just all been exposed. Was this just a bad effort by the Bills and just a bad game? We all have them. Or are my concerns real?
I think it's both. I think your concerns are real, and it was a bad performance from the Bills. Like, they came out flat. I didn't love their game plan, and even the game plan they did, like, the execution wasn't great. Miami had them well scouted and were super geeked up for this game. Now, being super geeked up aside, I think part of the reason why Miami had them so well scouted is because the Bills have gotten, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a bit predictable. There's a good chunk of tendency and tells within this offense where you can kind of boil down on any down and distance or situation or based off formation and presentation or all those things together. You can pretty easily deduce what they're going to do, like either run or pass or even specific runs or specific pass concepts. And Miami had a good plan to combat that, unfortunately. But, to your point, I do think this receiving core, granted, they're missing Josh Palmer in this game, and his absence from the lineup has been problematic. But I think that even of itself is pretty telling. Like, no disrespect to Josh Palmer, but he's like a career wide receiver 3 who can spotlight or spot duty as a wide receiver 2. And your pass offense like falls apart kind of because that guy goes away. And they're not built to chuck it 30 to 40 times a game. They're not built to go spread and throw it around. They're built to run the football, and they're built to use their receivers as blockers and marry the run and the pass and blend the two and go from there. And they haven't been up to snuff schematically from a Joe Brady standpoint, play calling, design, creativity, structure. It hasn't been ideal. Josh Allen hasn't played good. He hasn't been playing within the structure. His decisions have not been ideal. Some of his mechanics have gotten a little wonky. So I do think not having like standout receivers or having a standout wide receiver room is part of it for sure. Palmer being out hurts, Kincaid being out hurts. But it's really a collective failure from everybody. It's coaching wise all the way up to the players, including Josh Allen, who has not played well.
Anthony, I don't know what kind of chair you're operating with. We see your background continue to develop, which is quite nice as you move into your new place. So I want to give it to you up there. So I don't know if you want to lay down for what I'm about to tell you right on your chest.
I can play the box drop commercial now. He can lay down with me.
Please.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So I can, help him with therapy here. What is the confidence level that Sean McDermott is the right head coach to get the Bills to a Super Bowl and beyond? Because that seems to be wavering if I am to pay attention to the very, electric social media environment at this current point among Bills Mafia.
It's, for me personally, that's such a loaded question because there's always so much doubt in everyone until there isn't, until they get over the hump. And the example I always give, and it's probably not fair at this point, Philly could not wait to have Andy Reid's head on a stick. They waited until he had one bad season. They jettisoned him out the door. Then he goes to Kansas City, and Chiefs fans are doing the same thing. Well, of course, we keep losing in the first round every year. We got Andy Reid. He's the biggest choker coach of all time. He's terrible, yada, yada. And now all of a sudden, he's one of the best of all time. Everybody would kill to have Andy Reid. He gets the benefit of having Mahomes, but then he also gets Steve Spagnuolo, who's this amazing DC who doesn't want to go anywhere. Jim, you know all about that with his Giants, resume. He doesn't want to leave and become a head coach anywhere. He just gets to stay. Like, all these variables work out for Kansas City. And I'm not saying that to downplay anything that Kansas City does, but I say all that to say things can change in the blink of an eye. We could be sitting here 5 years from now and Sean McDermott could have 3 Super Bowls, or he gets paired with the right offensive coordinator, or things change, or they get the right piece, or maybe if Von Miller doesn't go down in that season and he was the prince that was promised, the Bills get to a Super Bowl that year. There's so many variables that go into a team reaching the Super Bowl that it's hard for me to put it on any one person, player, coach, side of the ball, anything, because there's usually so many pieces woven into it. I will say from my vantage point, I'm confident in him as a head coach. I think he's a good head coach. I think he's a good guy to have steering the ship and, driving the car and being at the forefront. I will say when it comes down to the playoffs and you're going up against the best of the best, at best, I'm 50-50 with him going into any game. And I don't know if that's necessarily, a negative against Sean McDermott. Sorry for that. I don't know if that's necessarily a negative against McDermott because, the times he's gotten ousted in the playoffs, he's going against one of the best of all time in Andy Reid and who's got this amazing pairing with Spags. So I fault him, but also it's kind of hard. It's so muddy, but I'm not holistically confident in him to get them to a Super Bowl.
So maybe you're not allowed to reveal this, Anthony. Was that Brandon Bean calling you, trying to get your thoughts on?
Yeah, he was going to yell at. He was going to yell at me to be like, "Why are you talking about the wide receivers again? Everything is fine with the wide receivers."
Geez, yeah, he got pretty aggressive with that on that radio call. So.
You know what? It's funny with that too. Like, I don't think in theory, his thought process was wrong. But boy, could that not have looked like any worse with where they are right now? Just of all the times and for how it backfired, it's just like, what are the odds? Yikes. So bad.
Yeah, that's absolutely awful. So now, okay, so we kept getting a temperature check from you. So I just got it for the Sean McDermott element that exists out there in the universe. But what about the season? Because, you mentioned it, 5 years in a row of division winners, and with all due respect, the AFC East has been god-awful for most of that. So, you guys have almost just, you've put that baby in cruise control, and it's just sort of happened. Now, if the Bills are to win the division, it's not going to happen in that way. They're going to need the Patriots to fall apart and themselves to sort of seize the day and make it happen. So, from that perspective, where is the temperature here? Because when I've asked you before, that was the beginning of the 7-game winning streak for the Patriots. I said, hey, whoa, Patriots beat the Bills, worry scale. And we talked about that. And how has that sort of evolved here as where the Patriots currently are, where the Bills currently are?
I think we're still kind of in the same spot, which is, I think the Patriots are a good team and their schedule is very favorable. And that in and of itself is enough to give you cause for concern if you're a Bills fan who wants to win the AFC East. And then you add in the Bills kind of being up and down with their performance, and it turns into kind of a mix that would make you sit here and go, you know what? If I have to pick up, betting odds or lay something down, I'm picking the Pats to win the AFC East just because of how it's looking right now at this moment. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. If you told me the Bills win out and the Pats lose to the Ravens and then lose to the Bills, the AFC East is the Bills. And I don't think
and the Jets. And the Jets.
There you go. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the Jets.
Yeah.
It's also a good thing, too, that the Jets didn't jettison out like their two best players on defense. So that way they'd be prepared to play the Pats tonight. That'd be super good. But yeah, Jets not. And then the Jets not doing it. I'm not gonna go down that road. But yeah, it's I think it's a spot where you're nervous if you're a Bills fan, because any slip up looks like it's going to cost you even more. Like we talked on the show last week, the Patriots playing the Bucs. The Bucs were super banged up and injured, but that was still one of the quote unquote better opportunities to have the Patriots drop a game.
Correct.
They did not. And so you're sitting there, if you're a Bills fan, kind of watching that schedule, and it doesn't look favorable at this moment, just from a Patriots perspective, and let alone when you add in kind of the ups and downs of the Bills this season.
Yeah, there are some clunkers in there for them. There are some, eminently winnable games with those. We just saw in the NFL. You can't ever count a team out. And the Miami Dolphins were a very prepared team, and they looked actually like a really competent football team last week with a competent head coach. They
Way to bring that up,
like that.
Way to bring that up. Nice.
Let me ask you about this week's game, since you bring up Tampa Bay. I mean, so the Patriots went down to Tampa and got a win. You're going to get the Bucs in your own building. So how much of a litmus test is this right now? Because if the Patriots can beat them down there, well, certainly you guys should beat them up here. So let's talk about that.
We'll start with the injury report and kind of see, I think Chris Godwin's still going to be out. Maybe Bucky Irving plays for the Bucs. He's awesome. They have a really good 1-2 running back combo when he's healthy with him and Rashad White. But it's a shame too. Going into this season, I really like the Bucs. I liked them last year too. And then their offensive line has gotten decimated. Kalijah Cansey has been out on defense. Mike Evans has been out. They've just on Godwin up and down. There's just been so many injuries across the board for this team. I still think they're a good team. Obviously, the Patriots just beat them. They had a couple big plays in that game that really changed. The touchdown to Kyle Williams in the first half, the touchdown to Diggs at the end of the first half with, no time left on the clock, the huge run from Travion Henderson. So the Bucs gave up some big plays, but the Bucs played well in that game despite being down with bodies. I still think they're a good football team. I think it's a very winnable game for the Bills against a good team that's banged up. They are at home. And from a litmus test perspective, from the immediacy standpoint, I think that's very valid. Especially from a fan base standpoint. If the Bills were to lose this game, right, fans are already down after the performance against the Dolphins, so that's bad. And then if you were to lose to the team that the Patriots just beat in their house the week prior, I think it continues that, not even precipitous downfall, but kind of continue to fall off the cliff from a mentality standpoint for the fan base. And then from a brass tacks standpoint, it's just another loss on the docket that you really can't afford at this point.
Hey, let me jump in on this one real quick. The Giants obviously let Brian Dable go this week.
We talked about that when? How many weeks ago did we talk about what the fate of Dable and Shane would be for the Giants? Yeah.
So, I mean, let's talk about it from the Bills' perspective. I know they obviously have a full staff, but is there a spot for Brian Dable? Would they dare, in the middle of a season, bring a guy in like this, call him a consultant? I don't know. He could be the assistant linebackers coach. I mean, whatever. It's another brain in the house. Do you dare do that, or you don't foresee that happening, at least till the offseason, if they do anything?
Yeah, give him the assistant to the regional manager type of title. For me, it's tough because you don't have any established relationship between him and Joe Brady. It's not like Brady, learned under him or there was tutelage there. And so you can bring him in and they speak the same language. They see things, or maybe Dable can help him give a fresh set of eyes. They are different from, an ideology standpoint and a schematic standpoint. The type of offense Dable ran when he was in Buffalo is different than what Brady is doing now. And then there's also the little tiny rumblings of Dable's relationship with McDermott and how they clashed or may not have clashed. I think throws a potential wrench. I just think it's unlikely now, because if you bring him in, I think you're kind of telegraphing more or less a ticking clock on Joe Brady, whether it's in season or after the season. And then if they're going to stay here together, I just don't know how much they mesh. So I don't think it's likely at this point. And if it is, I think it's a very worrisome sign for Joe Brady.
So that would be a worrying sign for Joe Brady. Take Dable out of it. Throw him out of the club. Is there any worrying sign for Joe Brady's current job security with Buffalo?
Oh, I think if things continue to look as bad as they have, it's fair to kind of assume that. I mean, Ken Dorsey got fired midseason a couple years ago after several kind of questionable performances and a game against the Broncos where James Cook fumbled and a ball went right off of Gabe Davis's hands that got thrown to him right here, bounced in the air and got intercepted. And then the Bills had the field goal nonsense at the end that cost them that game. So that game wasn't even really on Dorsey. And they were like, all right, cool, you're out. So if they put we've seen them kind of not kind of appease the fan base, but put someone's head on a pike if things haven't gone right. And McDermott's talked about the sluggishness of the offense. I think it's very much in the minds of the media and the team and the fan base. I could see them parting ways if another egg is laid this week or even going forward. If the offense continues to look sluggish, stuck in neutral, or like they're trying to swim through molasses like they have been, I could see him kind of, being on the docket for getting bounced.
Talking with Anthony Prohaska, Cover One, the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Pop that subscribe button right now. Become part of our growing community. Today's broadcast is brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends at Crest.
Cadillac certified pre-owned vehicles, exclusively available in Central New York at your participating Cadillac dealer, Crest Cadillac. Each one must meet high standards and receives a 172-point inspection, along with a 1-year unlimited mile warranty after the original warranty expires. Come into Crest Cadillac in Syracuse today for exceptional offers on Cadillac certified pre-owned models. CrestCadillac.com.
Right back with Anthony Prohaska talking all things Buffalo Bills as we're inside the Bills. Anthony, injury report. Is there anything much to mention? What is the status of Dalton Kincaid? I do think he is such an important piece of this passing game.
Yeah, he's week to week with that hamstring injury. It's unfortunate. As soon as I saw him pull up, I knew it was going to be a thing that is likely going to impact him for a bit going forward. You get a soft muscle injury, it's never like, oh yeah, he'll be back next week and everything's fine, especially with a hamstring. So you're sitting there having him there and, he didn't practice yesterday. He's been called week to week going into this week. So we'll see kind of just how that progresses, but I'm not expecting him against Tampa in any way, shape, or form. And then you've got the short week and Houston coming up on the Thursday nighter next week. So I doubt that happens in any way, shape, or form. So I think at the very least, we're a couple weeks away from him. Christian Benford was limited again. Terrell Bernard was limited. Joey Bosa was limited, although apparently the wrap or the club came off his hand and he's wearing something else. So we'll see how that goes. Josh Palmer practiced in full, which is nice. TJ Sanders, they opened up his practice window off the IR. He practiced in full. And then he had a couple other limited practices as well. So the injury list continues to be lengthy for the Bills. And it really is we get the statuses on Wednesday. Let's see if anyone progresses Wednesday or Thursday, but it's a daily watch with how many guys are on the list and the guys that are on the list.
All right, Anthony, we're going to do a little bit of a Rorschach test here. Okay. I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you an image here on the screen and I want you to react
just like
and
dots
respond.
And we figure out what it is.
I think it's going to be a little bit more clear than that. So let's go to it. ESPN NFL analyst Damian Woody says the Bills Super Bowl window is closed. Anthony, your reaction?
Typical Jet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah. Jet and a Pat.
There you go.
I don't think the Super Bowl window is closed, especially for this year with how open the AFC is. Like and it may be bias or whatever, but I still think even with what the records show, if you told me right now, like pick the top 3 teams to go to the Super Bowl of the AFC, I'm still picking not in this order, but I'm picking the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens. And I think it's cool what the Colts have done. I think it's cool what the Pats have done. I think, you got the Chargers in there a little bit where the Broncos are, but I still think the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC runs through Kansas City. And I think the Bills are still very much in that conversation, especially with how the Bills tend to play up to their competition and also unfortunately play down to their competition come playoff time. I think they're able to still go toe to toe with anybody. So no, I don't think their Super Bowl window is closed this year or even really going forward because the Chiefs are still kind of in this transition of what they're doing and moving forward. Baltimore kind of in a similar conversation and the cap is going to get tighter for other teams. You do have some teams emerging like, oh, look what the Colts have done. Look what the Patriots are doing. We'll see if they maintain that going forward. But I think a lot of that is just mainstream media and like, hey, what can we say to get eyes and clicks on this? And who can we get to say this to see if it'll get attention? I unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, I don't put a lot of stock in anything the mainstream media puts out about sports because they do it for clicks and they don't really do it for actual analysis.
It's become the trend, unfortunately.
It really has the whole
One last one from me, a little bit off the beaten trail, but I'm always interested in what our insiders have to say about vacancies and things of that nature. The Giants have a head coaching vacancy. Any ideas? Who could we hire? You got a guy that you think would be a good fit with the New York Football Giants?
Oh, I mean, if I'm sitting there and I'm putting a team together and I have a head coach that, I need to fill, or that role that I need to fill, the first person I'm personally looking to from a schematic standpoint that I like, I'm looking at Clint Kubiak, who is the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he comes from the Shanahan offense, the Shanahan tree, hit the Kubiak tree, his dad, who comes from the Shanahan tree. Like, I just really like what he's done in Seattle. Seattle has been one of my weekly watches on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, essentially every single week this year, just because I like what they're doing so much from an identity perspective and a schematic standpoint. And I think offensive coaches are more of the trend than defensive coaches right now at this point. And if you're sitting there with Jackson Dart and you believe in Jackson Dart, I think the idea would be like, okay, cool, let's get him an offensive mind to kind of pair with him. The first guy on my list, I would look towards Clint Kubiak in Seattle. And then if anything goes off the rails in Green Bay, I would look towards Matt LaFleur and bring him in an instant.
I don't think they're going to fire LaFleur.
No, I don't think they would either, especially with the injuries they've had. Tucker Kraft went down. Before Kraft went down and what they've had going on, they were one of the best offenses in football. I still think they're capable of turning that around. Like, he's a great offensive mind. I would not let him go, but if somehow they do, I'm jumping on that instant.
You like the Kiffin tree at all? You like that Kiffin tree?
I like Monty. I don't like Lane.
I never liked him either. For some reason, I'm on his train right now. I don't know why.
I just can't, even when I was younger and in my early
Remember,
20s,
he's 50 now. He's not that brash 32-year-old.
But he's the same guy. He's still
look at social media. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
I just can't get I just can't get behind his shtick and his vibe. And I've tried, even when he was kind of the anti-hero, bad boy type of coach. And it was kind of he's cool. I was never he's not cool. He's annoying. This sucks. And I loved those Bucs defense. And so Monty Kiffin was always a little Anthony, Monty Kiffin was revered. And I was like, oh my God, the Tampa 2 defense and everything he did with Brooks and Sapp and Simeon Rice. And I can always remember him sitting there with that Bucs windbreaker and his visor and his headset. And I thought so highly of him. And I do not think that way about
Doesn't seem like a Maratish kind of guy either. So
no, yeah.
Probably a long shot, even though he has the relationship, obviously, with the QB.
Yeah, I don't think I could see Lane showing up in shorts and flip-flops for his interview and just being like, what's up? I'm Lane. And they'd be like, this isn't a good fit. You're out.
Yeah, you're out of here. Let's go.
Right. Well, I would ask about a vacancy if the Jets had one, but we got AG, baby.
Who wanna fly?
I'm going to erase that from the bank. I've seen that about 7 times this week.
Yeah. We should ask him about the injury report.
Hey, we don't talk about that around here, and we're going to take out the Patriots tonight. You're welcome. Merry Christmas early, Anthony Prohaska. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Anthony, thanks as always. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend, and hopefully the Bills get a win. Thank you very much for having me.